Did you know that Modern Witches has a Patreon community? There, you can join us at 2 tiers of paying membership and access our monthly coven circles, which are live online gatherings where we discuss our witchcraft and practice magic together, and tune into what it means to be a modern witch at this deeply important planetary moment. We're so excited to be dropping a new Patreon exclusive, which are our mini magic episodes. These will feature practical magic, folklore, history of the craft, as well as ways to deepen your engagement and awareness of witchcraft in this precarious time. We hope to see you there, and if you aren't subscribing to the podcast, please do so now. Your comments, your reviews, they all mean so much to us. Find links to join our Patreon community in the show notes. Blessed be.
Hello, and welcome back to the Modern Witches podcast. We are here for our episode 2 of Cancer season, starting in July. And I am here with my co-host, Mariana. Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
I'm excited to continue diving into Cancer season. It's already been, I don't know, our last episode kind of ended with this beautiful Jupiter Gazimi and Cancer new moon. And it's interesting, this lead up to the full moon in Capricorn. As things are changing signs, there's different energies afoot.
So crazy. Honestly, we in this space where we are only now gonna start seeing this July the true unfolding and true meaning behind that Saturn Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius, the first one in 2021. That beginning of the air, 200 year of air conjunction. So it's a very epoch defining. It was the first one, conjunction Saturn with Jupiter. It was in Aquarius. But we haven't had that much air influence or energy or something supporting that air, like fire, big power players. And now we have this sort of like real sharp change in the speed with which things will be changing. The speed is gonna pick up like there's no tomorrow come July. You guys gonna notice that.
Absolutely. Yeah, just to give kind of like highlights of what's coming up. You know, we have Venus moving into Gemini as we begin this month, and then Uranus moves into Gemini, which is a massive shift of energy, which we're going to talk more about momentarily. But hang on to your hats.
Yes, guys, like embrace flexibility and internal adaptability, like your life depends on that.
Yeah, it's like, don't sweat the small stuff anymore.
No, like go with like the theme of the second part of this year is gonna be making choices fast, making decisions on the fly, adapting to changing circumstances, maybe multiple times, changing messaging, changing people you work with, maybe like, or communities, or expanding communities in unexpected ways. A lot of that. But we'll talk. Let's take it step by step. Yeah.
Good idea. Okay, let me pull up the chart. We're starting our transits on July 4th. And we have this Venus and Uranus conjunction in the energetic degree of Taurus. And so Uranus is so close to leaving Taurus here, and Venus meets up to make out, I guess, before moving into Gemini. It's this last moment of sensuality. It's like almost like it feels like a cathartic breakthrough, like a celebration almost of like whatever happened with Uranus and Taurus. And Venus is like really wanting us to like explore that and express that before it's moving signs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's at this last degree, like you said, um, after, so Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018. We've had this conjunction for like 7 years yearly. And our values and our understanding of our stability and ability to depend on certain structures is kind of slipping through our fingers as we speak, because new systems of stability and value systems have been born. And actually, what I found when the planet is at the last degrees of the sign, like here, Venus with Uranus, it's not until the planets change signs that we start implementing the lessons of the previous sign. So everything that we understood about how these structures have to be built in relation to the Taurus placement of our chart will only start being implemented post, because especially with the fixed energy, it will take a moment of integration and kind of like recovery, if you may, after the continuous shock to the system.
Yeah, I mean, we were just speaking about this before we jumped on recording, but just witnessing the destruction to the United States food infrastructure, the lack of food safety that is now being put in place, the lack of prioritizing of public health that is now taking over. It's scary. It's scary. And I think for me, something that I think about is like, how do I change my relationship to my food so that I maybe have a more awareness of like where it's coming from and how it's made, and how can I like be a better gardener and,
Yeah.
and participate. Like I joined my community garden and like really getting deep into those types of practices. And I think it's important to talk about that, like connect with community around food
Mm-hmm.
as we
So
move into a new era.
this is the key, I think. This is the agency of resources,
Mm-hmm.
because we increasingly become aware that we can't really depend on the powers that be. We cannot depend on them. We cannot depend on any structures, no matter how long the structures have been in place. They can be sort of like destroyed within a very short period of time, as we can see it right now.
Yeah.
So Uranus teaches us one thing: it's in personal agency.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
we
think
have,
this is really real.
yeah, it is real. It's not something that we look at as we predict or anything. It's happening as we speak. It's been happening for a few years. It has been very much on the surface.
And truly, the scary thing is that we can each have as much personal agency as we can muster, but we can't sustain healthy or well societies without collective safety nets and without collective protections. And so we are moving into a scary time for so many people, especially vulnerable populations. And I want to encourage everyone to think about ways that we can support our neighbors and those who don't have as much personal agency or privilege. So I'm
It,
just putting that out there.
yes, it's not funny, but it's not funny at all. How in the last 7 years, every step of the way, from one administration in this particular country to another administration, both one is bad, the other is worse. We don't know what's going to happen next. But how the safety mechanisms have been dismantled, the ability to buy property, the ability to, like, all of the things, the price, the inflation, how for the last 7 years, dramatically, we have been stripped of from less obvious to the most obvious aspects of stability.
Yeah.
So the first they started with something that not many people had, so not many people would notice. Not many people actually do have like 401ks or
Mhm.
have savings, or
We'll
even
have Social Security.
will have social security, or even considering like buying property or any of those things, to more and more and more widely spread influence of sort of like pulling the like rug out of how do you say it, out of our feet,
Yeah,
from
pulling the rug out from under us.
from under us.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been insane. And the next, so Uranus will be back in Taurus, so the next year on and off
It'll retrograde back.
in November.
Mhm.
So the next year on and off, we gotta be battling with the response to this absolute devaluing of us as a collective.
Mhm.
What is our response to how much more can a collective tolerate? Because it looks like as long as you have something to eat, you will tolerate anything.
Right.
And it's when you won't have anything to eat, which some people already there.
Yeah.
So how much further? We'll see.
We'll
So
see.
this conjunction, I urge everyone to consider your personal value and what you won't tolerate in regards to at least you as an individual. Don't, okay, collective matters, but think how much you personally can tolerate. How much of this is okay with you, and where have you lowered your personal standards of acceptable? At which point has it become unacceptable, but you haven't waken up to that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good moment. I mean, I think, Venus, Uranus energies can really alchemize into an expression of like the joyful revolutionary as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't want us to lose sight of that in like the
Yeah.
seriousness of the moment, because I think the only way we're really going to get out of this is we have collective expression of like this resistance is an act of beauty and an expression of our values, and something that is enjoyable to subscribe to. We have to like really push for that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a Venusian conjunction, so it is about hope and again, with Venus is not very proactive energy.
Mm.
Venus is
Languid.
yeah, kind of. It's not like Mars Uranus conjunction. It's a Venus Uranus conjunction, so it's very much awakening to the personal need for joy.
Mm.
Like you have the personal need, and so many people across all the different like groups have like almost forgotten that they have this right for good life.
Yeah. And I
For,
think
yeah.
it's so important to remember that like this is Venus in Taurus. This is Uranus in Taurus. And it's like something I've been thinking about a lot lately is like they've directed our attention to anything but the earth. Like, what if we'd redirected our attention, our value system into the beautiful earth we live on? Like the beauty that can exist here in the physical, in the sensual. Like, let's try to like drink that up before Uranus moves into Gemini.
Yeah, because that would be a different story.
It will be. But first, just, Venus will form this conjunction with Uranus at this aneretic degree of Taurus. And then hours later, we'll move into Gemini. So on the same day.
Yeah, it's July 4th, which is, what is
Ironic. Yeah, Independence Day in the
Independence.
US.
Mm-hmm. Um, Yeah. So for me, again, with Venus in Gemini, it's double messaging.
Mm.
It's make believe messaging. It's sort of like gaslighting into having fun. Or at all. When there's in some kind of like excessive plastic fun. So
Mm.
no. Um, so use that. That is the shadow side. What is not the shadow side of Venus in Gemini? Learn skill. Learn new skill that can feed you, bring you money, help you teach someone something. You go study something, you learn something, you read a book, you go, I don't know, crochet something at least. I don't
I
know.
like that.
Do something, because the only healthy expression of any Gemini transit for me personally is learning.
Mm.
Anything that has to do with not that is gaslighting.
Gossiping. I guess
Gossiping,
gossiping.
then gaslighting, yes. So Gemini is not often spoken, but and I don't normally associate signs with houses, but just for the sake of this experience, for this example, Gemini is the third house from like a traditional thing, right? It's an eighth from the eighth, so it's only we can only unravel our eighth house shit, trauma, fears, unconscious patterns through the third house. Eighth from the eighth is third.
Mm.
So it is through learning, through changing opinions, through changing directions, through teaching someone something that we can get out of the loop.
I love that. And it's like increasing your mental fluidity, flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
expanding consciousness.
Yeah.
Um, all of that is super important. As like I think it's really interesting. Venus enters Gemini and then Uranus, because I think there's something to be said about attuning to like what your values are in a Gemini way. And
Mm-hmm.
then Uranus, the kind of like rule breaker, revolutionary, you know, wrecking ball sometimes comes in and says like, well, what do you really believe?
Mm-hmm.
Like what really is the thing you're choosing?
Yeah. And the thing that you're choosing, you might not have an answer from the beginning. That's why you
Right.
need to learn. And that's why you need to humble yourself. Yeah.
So
Writing,
let's go there.
also
Let's
good. Yeah, let's go there. Uranus, when is it? On the 7th?
7th. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on July 7th, Uranus enters Gemini, where, let me see, I have it here. It will go back into Taurus, but it will stay in Gemini till November 7th.
That's
So
clean.
that's
July
very
7th to November 7th.
sharp, yeah. So this is a big one. And like I said in the beginning of this episode, it is the true introduction of what the 200-year air is going to be about. This is going to be interesting because the next Saturn Jupiter conjunction is going to be in Gemini, I think. Yeah. So it's sort of like this thing where we are being introduced in the new ideology for the collective for a very long period of time, because we're exited in 2021 the 200 year of Earth, and now we enter 200 year of air, and we've kind of dabbled. And when I say kind of dabbled, look at the AI thing. It's so I like 4 years ago, I couldn't have imagined that it would be where it is now. And
Right.
we haven't even fully experienced the scope and the influence of the element of air yet. So
Mm.
imagine when Uranus, which is closely associated with AI and all that kind of stuff, is gonna enter Gemini and form trine to Pluto and sextile to Saturn and Neptune. This is like a true formation of new ideologies, of new ways of communication, new powers. They are going to be powers of information and like all the internet stuff that's going to dominate our existence for the next 200 years. I don't know. We gotta be very selective with what we choose to. It's gonna be very difficult to like focus, I think, with this transit. Can you imagine Uranus in Gemini? It's like
I know. We thought Jupiter and Gemini was icky.
but Jupiter's in it's like it doesn't like being in Gemini, so I'm gonna give it a little bit.
Yeah.
Jupiter is yeah, it doesn't, it's in a detriment, so it doesn't like being there. So
And Uranus is like this, you know, it's electricity and it's trickery. And I think there's something to be said for like this Gemini energy, which can be about exploring duality and like being okay with multiplicity and like holding paradox. So there's something about it that I think, you know, Uranus is actually going to like really be well fed by Gemini energy.
I think so, because it's way more comfortable in Gemini than it was in Taurus. By the nature of the planet and the nature of the sign, Gemini merges and mixes with Uranus way better because there is an invitation for quick and frequent change that is not so welcomed in Taurus.
Right.
You know, and takes longer, and it's a bit more like walking through the mud kind of experience. When
And I think,
yeah, in Gemini, it's completely
yeah.
different.
Oh, totally. It makes me think of like if you looked at what happened with the economy since 2018, and it was like the term vibe session rather than recession was kind of popular, which is like to say that like we weren't really in a recession, but everyone felt like we were in a recession. And I feel like it was Uranus being like, we're destabilizing, but everyone was like, but I don't want to change my behavior. Like, I don't want to change I don't want to change my relationship to comfort.
Yes.
And now that Uranus is moving to Gemini, the markets are going to be insanely erratic. Like the uncertainty that we're already seeing with the tariff situation is just going to explode.
Yeah, 100%. And so interesting. There is this aspect. All of this is gonna become more exact in 2026, but we already see this Uranus trine Pluto, sextile Saturn and Neptune. So we have a bisextile, so two sextiles to Saturn and Neptune. So this whole thing, again, it looks in Russian, we say it's a carriage aspect. So the carrier of the aspect is Saturn and Neptune. So they are leading the way and they pulling the Pluto and Uranus ahead, sort of. So to interpret the events. So Saturn and Neptune here. So we are focusing on higher principles, Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So what we fight for. So everything is going to be centered on Aries. It's going to be centered and directed on what is worth fighting. So all the changes in information and tariffs and all the change in Pluto and Aquarius, so like internet and AI and all that stuff, is how it informs what we fight for, what are the principles? Do we choose to engage in these battles? Do we choose to disengage from these battles? What is our higher principles that directs our action? So Saturn and Aries, it has to be very clear. Otherwise, this Uranus and Pluto in air signs are gonna be a little bit all over the place. But we do need to understand the clear inner direction about what is my fight and what is not my fight. You know, where my energy will go and where it won't go. And with Neptune there, my personal thing, it has to be spiritually backed. Because if you do not have that rooting, anything can like really pull you into different directions. You have to have a certain spiritual practice of your own that doesn't allow you to be baited into someone else's wars, agendas, like
Cult.
fear tactics, cults, all of
Mhm.
that. You do have to you do have to have that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to protect your critical thinking skills.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say protect, I mean really notice how technology has eroded your critical thinking skills, myself included.
All
Like
the
I
time.
really notice it. Um, and yeah, I think it's worth mentioning too that, you know, the last time Uranus was in Gemini, there was a world war,
Second one, yeah.
Second World War. So it was
Civil
from,
War before that.
yeah,
Only with
1941, right?
yeah, 1941 to 45. It's when United States engaged in the Second World War with Soviet Union. The Second World War started in 39, but both United States and Soviet Union only entered as as Uranus entered Gemini, so 41. Before that, Uranus was in Gemini during the Civil War. So the only time US has involved itself in a grand scale, like in some kind of war situation, and like even like let's say Pearl Harbor,
Mhm.
right? It was like on the soil of United States, any attacks, it always been with Uranus and Gemini. And I don't want to scare anyone, but
Mhm.
you have to be aware that why we're being pulled into these scenarios. Are they inevitable? Who says that they are inevitable?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
And history repeats itself and it's
Yeah.
cyclical. And we're living in under fascist rule.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that you can resist. So
Yeah.
finding the ways that you can resist in your experience, in your reality is important.
Yeah. And like I don't have a solution. I don't think any of us has a real solution for this. But with Uranus and Gemini, we need to start stretching our mind out of the space of posting on Instagram, which is good too,
Mhm.
to something else,
Yes.
to organize and to coming together in groups, maybe, I don't know, even if it's online groups and maybe like mini boycotts or whatever that is. But you have to like that Saturn Aries will ask us to fight for something. Saturn Aries suppresses what is unnecessary to fight for and will try to crystallize what is important. And
Absolutely.
for the next 3 years with Uranus and Pluto, they're going to be sort of like actually the Saturn in Aries is feeding the Uranus. And that's why I said everything is fired up by the Saturn in Aries. The fire to the air comes from the Martian sort of like resistance space. Yeah, and I want to give a little bit of a couple of things that can be coming up with Uranus and Gemini. It's like middle education, so before high school education being somehow destabilized and rearranged. Maybe like the funding will be cut off even further for educational things. Maybe like homeschooling will become like a new reality by the end of the next 7 years. Maybe there will be huge educational reforms happening. You know, something with transportation is going to be really changed. The way we travel, cars and everything is also going to be changing. Something with roads. Something there will be like this interesting dynamic happening. Younger children, um, I don't know, but a lot will be happening in regards to the youth
Mm,
and the youth's involvement.
I'm scared.
Huh?
As a parent, I'm scared, but you know, I think it's like a note to really choose the communities you're a part of wisely
Mm-hmm.
and make sure you're connecting with the folks that have similar values as you.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
very good.
So also on this day, we do have a Venus trine to Pluto.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It's like there's obviously this depth of fear, I feel like, that like we're kind of tuning into. Like the fear of like our values being the things we value being corrupted or disrupted in some way. And I don't know, I think fear is a good teacher sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to note what you're afraid of and note how deeply you care about the things in your
Mm-hmm.
life, and what you're willing to fight for
Yeah,
as we move into this new era.
100%. And also, I think it is important to reframe mentally for yourself the importance of the chaos and the importance of destabilized environments, as they provide the most opportunity for new ideas on a like local scale.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's the easiest to find people, like-minded people. It would be easier to implement new ideas because old ideas are obviously not working. It is a very fertile soil if you choose to see it that way.
Yeah, I like that. And I think to return to what you had said about like education, it's like it's so important to think about are the young people in our world as like the next leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important to think about the ways we're educating them and supporting them and yeah, allowing them to be creative at this time when so much is shifting, I think is like something I think about a lot.
Yeah, and the ruler of that Uranus in entering in Gemini first time is Mercury in Leo. So it is about creativity and your ability to do what you do the best is the most necessary thing in this world.
Mm-hmm.
It's your ability to overcome the fear and do what you do the best.
Mm-hmm.
You need
Yeah,
to do that.
your
Because if,
personal
yeah, because you do
journey.
not do what you do the best, yeah,
Yeah.
you're just gonna be like a thing in this machinery
Mm-hmm.
and a tool.
Yeah, I think that's really right on. Okay, so we're moving towards this full moon in Capricorn on July 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, it's at 18 degrees of Capricorn.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Yeah, with Saturn, the ruler. Yeah, 18. Interesting. So, something that we started on that new moon in Cancer, trying to begin something new,
Mm-hmm.
here has its, or something we've started 6 months ago prior to that on a new moon in Capricorn. Also, um, so it is again the taking responsibility for your personal agency with Saturn and Aries. It is, are you willing to not like, I do understand that the government is at fault and all of that is like no clear, but it's not going to be very helpful as we move forward, I feel like.
Yeah.
if that is going to be our primary focus. The primary focus has to be, what's my place in all of this? Saturn in Aries, the ruler of this full moon in Capricorn, is about personal agency, personal responsibility, cultivation of courage. It's primarily doing something in spite of fear. It's doing something in spite of fear. Even if it feels like you might pay a price for that. I feel like we're passing the point where we're like, oh, I can't do because there will be a price. I think like we all see that the price will be way higher if we don't overcome this fear and if we don't do something. And the tide is changing. In spite of all the horrors that we observe, I see the tide changing. I see people from unlikely spaces and places actually like embracing this agency more and more, you know? So it
Yeah.
feels like no person is a small doesn't have a small, no one is too small to have an influence. There's no insignificant person who can't have an influence. You gotta like really understand that, you know.
I love it. I wanted to, like, I got a ping to check the Sabian symbol for this
Mm-hmm.
full moon. And Dane Rudyard's Sabian symbol is a 5-year-old child carrying a bag filled with groceries,
I'm
which I think
thinking
is like,
about Gaza
yeah,
right now.
I know. I mean, but it's like the depth of responsibility we're all taking on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and it's so funny that you said that, because like Saturn Neptune conjunction happened last time in 1990, 1989 to 1990, and it was over by 1992, I think. The
mhm,
complete, like I think Saturn entered Aquarius in 1992,
mhm.
something like
Or,
that.
yeah, maybe 91, but
But
yeah.
from 90, like I do have Saturn Neptune conjunct exactly in my natal chart. And that's when Soviet Union collapsed. And that's when I was born, but I was growing up in that environment in the early 90s, post that conjunction. We had
Mhm,
no food on the shelves for years. So we had to, like, I remember at 5, 6 years old, I had this metal bucket because I had a younger sister, and my mom would put me in the queue for milk, and you just stand there with a bucket for milk, because like that's your only opportunity to get, because she had to be with a child and
mhm.
like dad was at work, whatever. And it's like these things, and I don't think about them as negative or even traumatic at all. It's just,
That was life, yeah.
yeah, that was fine, honestly. No, for personally I don't have any trauma associated with that, just the thing. But that is what you're talking about, that no, like we all gonna play our little role in this.
Mhm.
We all gonna have like impact or be impacted like children, but as adults we're gonna have an impact.
You know, I think it's interesting what you're saying, because I think that something that I've noticed is like this, and I think it's correlated to social media, or like the what Instagram has taught us, which is like it's important to go viral, and like it's important to do big things, like it's important to be noticed by the most people, and like the followership is everything. And it's actually, having a bunch of followers and being seen by millions of people doesn't make you a good person. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't make you able to respond to a situation well. It doesn't give you any life skills.
Mm-mm.
And I think like what I've been like slowly coming back to is like, actually what matters is my relationship with the earth, my relationship to my art practice, my relationship to the spirits that I work with.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are the things that make me a person of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel
Yeah.
like this is kind of like all wrapped up in this what we're talking about is like everyone's role is deeply important. And it's like important for you to on this full moon, maybe even just like be honoring like all the ways you're showing up for yourself. You're showing up for your family, you're showing up in your circle of friends, in your community, like, you know, honoring all the things you're dealing with, all the things you're carrying in all your bags, you know,
I
like
love that.
how you show up is important.
It's so important. And again, like I don't want to make it about myself, but like what you just said resonates so deeply in terms of like the child in the 90s in post-Soviet Union Russia, where there was literally nothing. I was the happiest child. Like we didn't have like many like I'm looking at my friends' children here in United States, and I'm not coming from a critical or anything, but like they have so much. There's such an excess of everything, not just for children, but everyone, me included. I have way more things that I need. and but I remember myself as a child, and there was a sense of purpose as a child that I haven't had a chance to tap into as an adult yet.
Yeah.
In the 90s in Russia, and I think it relates to where we go in, because this aspect is so prevalent in my chart and in charts of many people, not just in Russia, but all I'm talking the world. But I had a sense of purpose as a child. I was like community. We like support each other, and I didn't know those words, community, family, but like I play my role, and we like love and support each other, and I stand in this queue, and my parents sacrifice this, but everyone feels purposeful, and they're building within this environment of chaos, and they feel hope because there's nothing, so there's everything else to build because there's nothing. It's a weird thing.
Profound. No, it's
Very,
profound. I think that it's
you
you.
can own, you have nothing, you have everything to do.
That's right. I mean, I think that it'll be a really interesting time with this Uranus in Gemini, because I think we have a lot of like the issue of technology and expansion in that realm is like something we
Yeah.
have to really be conscious of, as people, as humanity, and how we participate in that. But I do think there's a way in which, you know, moments of deep devastation and turmoil, they bring you back closer to what is actually important. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of us who are engaged with the world in ways that are really difficult, like witnessing the genocides,
Yeah.
like being awake to what's happening, has like really, I think, gotten a lot of us closer to that sense of like, oh, actually this, you know, noticing what is superfluous and what is actually our duty and our responsibility, and like bring us back closer to, yeah, what's important, really.
100%. This, like speaking about the genocide in Gaza, it has been the most profound experience for so many people. I feel like bringing them closer to what matters. I can say this definitely for myself. I'm looking at these people, and they do not lose connection to the essence of what matters. And it kind of forces you to ask yourself, who gave you a right to lose an essence, a connection to the essence of what matters for you? What is your excuse, so to say?
Yeah, yeah.
You do not have any. And it's like it's that responsibility that is we have to cultivate. The softness of the Western world is detrimental for the whole world.
Yeah, because we're
This
exporting our pain to another
we
place.
100%. And this whole like I've recently saw it on Instagram and I reposted it, but it's like the obsession with protecting your peace in the Western world. We do not have that in the rest of the world. It's like this obsession, my peace of mind, my peace of mind. It's like a little bird you carry around. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. You gotta like harden in a good way,
Mm,
in Saturn and Aries way.
yeah. I mean, just a couple days after this full moon, we have Saturn stationing retrograde in Aries.
Yeah, very helpful to go over the
Yeah.
experiences. Yeah.
So that happens on the
When
13th.
is it? 13th?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
is it going back in Pisces? I think it is.
Mm-hmm. I think it is too. I was just gonna check on that.
I have it here so I can quickly. So Saturn will re-enter Pisces on September 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, and turn direct on November 27th.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, you know, Uranus will go back into Taurus in November,
Yes.
and Saturn will like be ending its journey
Through
back into
Pisces.
Pisces. So we're transitioning. We're in this like,
Incredible time.
yeah, incredible shifting tides here.
Yeah. I don't know. My innate feeling is hopeful because I see so many people who care
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. That gives me hope. What lacks is a little bit of courage and oomph, so to say.
Yeah. But Saturn in Aries.
But yes, what I see the intention. I see the intent behind a lot of people. They don't have direction. There's not a clear arrow pointing somewhere. So it's both a good thing and a bad thing. Because when people do not have direction, they can be directed by something that shouldn't be directing them,
Mm-hmm.
or they can be directed by someone or something that really cares about them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important. But just if do not be what the kind of like the helpful thing that will help you understand whether it's a helpful directional force or detrimental directional force is whether in the process there is a potential of you being sacrificed.
Yeah, that's a really, really good meter here, especially with the nodes in Virgo and Pisces too, echoing that sentiment. It's like, are you being in service in a way that is
Yeah.
like altruistic or performative, or are you perpetuating some story of like victimhood?
Yeah, do not be like, because that Saturn in Aries easily can become a sacrificial lamb because of the immaturity and desire for heroism, or like, or something like that as well. Like, for me, it's always like the spiritual practice. We are coming out of Saturn in Pisces. So what has been crystallized, or what's had hopefully has been crystallized, is the spiritual backbone. And that spiritual backbone will not allow you to buy into someone else's narratives of war, or like
Right.
engaging in something that is not backed. And I always say, take that essence of Saturn and Pisces and build upon that the Saturn in Aries. Because if you do not have that, Saturn in Aries is too innocent and too naive, and will buy into certain narratives that it shouldn't be buying into.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I love that. It's helpful.
I feel like I'm coming back to that Saturn in Aries over and over.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So Saturn will station retrograde here. And then a week later, 5 days later, we have Mercury stationing retrograde. Remembering that it started its shadow on June 29th, I believe.
29th.
So,
and it will be retrograding till
the 11th of August.
yes, yeah, 11th of August.
So it's I don't know. I feel like it's interesting since we just had this Mars retrograde in Leo, and then in I think it's interesting. I think that Mercury will kind of be like maybe picking up and reviewing some of that period of time. Like maybe there's some like lingering communications that need to be resolved or looked at. But I do think, just as we spoke about before, you know, Leo is this like creative, generative energy to it. And I do feel like creativity and playfulness is like such an important thing to be indexing on at this point, while so much is shifting and while there's like so much uncertainty. Like rooting into your ability to be a creative force in the world is really important, and resiliency building, I think.
It's always important, and it's not spoken much about. It's important for everyone, whether you consider everyone is creative, in my opinion, whether you
Yeah.
consider yourself creative or don't consider yourself creative, which is false, because you are.
Yes.
So, but it's a sun-ruled Mercury retrograde. So it is about, yeah, what gives you light, what gives you energy, what gives you warmth. That is ability to establish and to assert your individuality in whatever ways you find fit, because you're here to it sounds very cliche, but like literally just to be you.
Right.
It's your only job.
It's your only
I mean,
job.
it's your job is to be you. So like figure out what it is.
I love that. I do think we've been trained to be, I hate to be this guy that's like always talking about this, but I think the algorithms have really fucked with us and made us believe that we need to perform in these narrow ways.
100%.
And we got to reclaim that. We really do.
We really do. And I forgot to mention something. It's connected to this Mercury retrograde in Leo, but overall it's with this outer planet, bisect like Saturn, Uranus, Pluto thing happening. It is an alchemy of things that haven't been alchemized together before. It is mixing together unmixable. It is combining things that haven't been combined before. It's sort of like I'm often thinking like, and I might have spoken about it before on the podcast, but humor, Matt, is so important to me. But I'm also like, even like sometimes like the way I write, I perceive it coming to people, or like the feedback that I get, oh, it's deep, or it's like contemplative, it's very much da 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 da. But I'm like, I don't feel like, and that's sort of like you either this or that. You either deep or like, I don't know, it's very, I'm simplifying, but like putting together things, unlikely things together is gonna be, I feel like, a key, especially when Uranus goes into Gemini. The duality, it has to have a place. The opposites have to have a place in one space, both. But for that, you have to get out of this like either or mentality. I'm this, but not that. I'm choosing, I'm going there, but I'm not going there.
You know who like I feel like I want to invoke in this moment, and I don't have a quote or anything, but I think someone who is such a beautiful voice in terms of like speaking into paradox is Simone Weil, who's a philosopher, thinker, religious person. And yeah, I'm just gonna throw that out there because like I think that the people who can express paradox eloquently and elegantly, like that's like a skill that I feel like we're gonna be developing. Like acknowledging the ways that, yeah, acknowledging the complexities and holding space for what's right and what's wrong, and honoring the ways that we can like veer against fundamentalism and like hold more
Yeah.
multiplicity.
Multiplicity with the heart when Cancer season. It's sort of
Yeah.
like it's sensing into the essence as a whole, but then introducing that multiplicity, that duality without judgment. It's very Gemini, Uranus-in-Gemini. It's sort of like if you bring like a religious and scientific person, or you bring a tech person and a spiritual,
Ecologist.
an
something.
ecologist, and like, but I'm speaking from a personal my ideas, but I'm like I've been thinking about that from like, and introducing humor and heart them together through that lens.
Oh yeah.
So unacceptable, unmixable in the same space would be a very interesting way to explore Uranus in Gemini. Do not invite only people who agree with you. Do not have conversations only with people who agree with you. That is not what this transit is about. This is about clashing of opposites.
I love that. It's like interdisciplinary methodologies are important.
Yeah. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of ways we can use these tools like astrology to look at the past and see what's happened before, and then iterate on like the potentials here. And I think that's a really important thing to do for all of us creative witches out there, you know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very fruitful Cancer season.
Me too. And yeah, as we slide, the sun will slide into Leo on the 22nd of July, and we will be back with more astrological insights for you all. Mariana, do you want to share where folks can like read your work since you mentioned it?
I write maybe 2-3 times a month on Substack, just about the major transits. I'm gonna write more, hopefully, but Substack is my main thing that can be found through my Instagram, which I barely use these days.
Yeah,
I think like
I'm with
yourself.
you. Yes.
Yeah. You also write on Substack, I know.
Yes, I'm on Substack at Hedge Spells, which is linked on my website, wandererstarot.com.
Yeah.
And yeah, email me if you want to connect.
Yeah, we're always here. I don't do readings right now. I might start them by the end of summer. We'll see, but in a very different way, from a different standpoint. But
I'm excited.
yeah, it's we'll see. It's an exciting time. Yeah, but read our work if you feel drawn to it.
Yeah, join us.
It means a lot to us. A
I know,
lot of work goes into that too.
It's really yeah, I like connecting with folks in a longer form.
Yeah.
And a more intentional form. So I'm also, my books are closed for June, but I'll be back doing readings in July. So I hope to connect with you there too.
Yeah. It's
all right.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you so much. And wishing you all the best. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Modern Witches podcast. We hope you've been inspired to cultivate your own magic and to craft your own spiritual practices. Let us know what sparked your curiosity by leaving us a comment on this episode or leave us a review. And don't forget to subscribe to the show so that you never miss an episode. Your feedback and engagement truly fills our cups. If you're looking for more ways to gather with your fellow witches, please support our work on Patreon. Learn more at modernwitches.org. Blessed be.